Good morning, Andrew.
Morning,
Mate,
Simon.
you've got a bit rogue on me this week, haven't you? This is
Yeah,
supposed to be. It worked in the 80s, so you've got a Nick Mordin column here from a relatively modern 2008. So why have you already bucked the trend? We're already on number four.
yeah. Maybe I was influenced by the new series of Doctor Who, and I've jumped forward in time. But you sent me some copies of Morden articles that you got from the Weekender. Ones I think you were going to throw out and recycle, and then thought better of it.
I retrieved them from the recycling. Actually, a chap on Twitter asked if there was any Nick Mordin articles, so I scampered out and retrieved them from the bin. So they've gone
Yeah,
back
and
in the
this
bin again now.
this one came from the Weekender in late June 2008, just after Royal Ascot. And there was a section of this Morden column called "Profit from the Unlucky Ones Next Time." And the first thing you think of when you read that article is, well, if horses are unlucky last time out, and obviously so, they're probably going to be overbet next time and make a loss if you back them blind. But he goes on to explain he'd bet a horse, a French horse called Marchand d'Or in the Golden Jubilee Stakes, which got badly hampered, finished sixth of 17. And he says, it struck me that if it was some performance by the French horse to recover from this setback well enough to finish sixth of 17, any horse that was able to run that well after meeting interference in a big field over 5 or 6 furlongs was almost certainly worth following. Now, he then ties that in with sort of like having those ones that recorded a race form rating of a certain figure or higher in finishing, unlucky in their previous race. And he said Marchand d'Or didn't actually meet up to that criteria, but the only current qualifier is Intrepid Jack, who ran well in the Wokingham after being hampered. Now, his usual system of following the horses on the next three starts certainly worked this time round because he suggested that Marchand d'Or would be one to back in the July Cup or the Prix Maurice de Gis over in his native France. And he actually won both those races and then won the Prix de l'Abbé on his third start after Ascot. Those wins, he was favourite for all of them, but he was 5-2, 8-5, and 2-1. So it wasn't exactly sort of prohibitive prices. And of course, you probably don't remember, but I tipped up the runner-up in the Prix de l'Abbé at 25-1, Morehouse Lad, a British horse trained by Brian Smart. We were on that, and we got done by this by the favourite, the Morden runner. Now, Intrepid Jack got beaten next time when he was dropped to 5 furlongs at Sandown, a trip on the sharp side for him. But he did win the Hackwood Stakes at Newbury after that at 12-1 the next time he ran over 6 furlongs. So because my Proform database goes back to 1997, I was able to isolate the year 2008 when this article was written and just look at what happened to horses who met trouble in their previous race. Now, Mordin's said that he used words like balked, bumped, hampered on their last start to find horses who were unlucky. So I went through these in turn and looked at them, and balked didn't crop up sufficiently to have a meaningful system. Bumped occurred 434 times, but only 34 of the runners won their next start. You'd make a loss of over 145 quid. And but hampered was far more interesting. So with the database I use, you can just put in last time comments include and just chuck the word hampered in there, and it comes up with every horse who was hampered last time out. Now in 2008, there were 2,143 runners who were hampered on their latest start. So that's quite a meaningful sample size. 209 of those won next time out. However, you'd make a massive loss, minus 542 quid at SP by backing those blind. You'd also make a loss at Betfair SP. But those races cover flat, turf, all weather, as well as jumps. Now, if you because what Morden was talking about in his article was horses who got hampered in a big field. So I looked at flat turf races, 15 or more runners last time out, when the word hampered cropped up, and then bet them next time out what would happen. 26 winners from 169 bets, strike rate just over 15%, and a profit of SP of £89.63, which is pretty handy. Betfair SP, after 2% commission, the profit was 212 quid, or 125% on turnover. So that looks pretty good. Now, those hampered runs, if they came in a handicap last time out rather than a non-handicap, the strike rate and the profitability were even higher. So it looks like we're onto something here. But that was only 1 year, 2008. So I took 2008 onwards, up to and including the current year, to find out what would have happened. Now, there were plenty of losing years at SP, but not so many at Betfair SP. And when there was a losing year, it often bounced back the next year or two with a big profit. So what the system I've come up with is looking at horses who ran in a handicap last time out, having been hampered in a field of 15 more runners, flat turf only, not all weather, not jumps, and you come up with a very healthy profit. And you're looking at 500, I think it's over 500 quid at Betfair SP. Now, the horses who ran over 5 furlongs to 7 furlongs, the shorter trips, as Mordin suggested, also did better. And you can sort of tweak this to look at sort of the shorter trips and make good profits. So the final system I came up with was to look for horses who received the comment hampered when running in a flat turf handicap of 15 or more runners last time. Back those who are now running over 5 furlongs to 1.25 miles on the flat. That's turf and all weather. And so that ends up coming up with a profit at SP as well as Betfair SP. But the Betfair SP profit is 39% and almost 600 quid. You can also chuck out the ones who finished first, second, third, or fourth last time, i.e., finishing in the frame, because they tended to be overbet. If they were hampered but still won, or hampered and finished second, it was a lot more obvious to the betting public. Those who finished fifth or worse last time out, the profit at Betfair SP was over 600 quid, and it creeps up to 47%. That was the strike rate's low, about 10% from 1,300 bets, but you're often getting very big prices about them. So that was the system that I've come up with based on that back unlucky running horses next time out. And because as well as hampered, there were other words that Mordin suggested, like not clear run, carried, as in sort of carried right, carried left, even carried out. And there's my findings are in the article as well that's on your website. So yeah, it was quite an interesting one. I'd expected that just backing obviously unlucky horses last time out would be a sort of route to the poorhouse, but within it there is an angle that you can make a profit from.
Yeah, and like I said, there is reams of stuff here. I've destroyed a rainforest, printing it all out. But if you
we've put the original article on there as well.
Yeah, the original article's on there. I've put all that's already. It's on the website. So if you want to go to, it's up there on the video, simonnott.co.uk, or I'll put the link direct to it in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you are watching it on YouTube, please like and subscribe, and then me and Andrew can keep doing these, because I'm enjoying them. Seems like Andrew's enjoying them.
Yeah, absolutely. On the subject, because we talked about Nick Mordin previously, because his book Betting for a Living and his later book Mordin on Time, sort of big influences on my sort of betting and how I started approaching form study and race analysis. And I know a lot of people of mine and your generation, were very strongly influenced by Mordin. Like Andy Holdings, he started doing speed figures after reading Mordin on Time. And I think you tried to interview him, didn't you, for betting people? Did you try and track him?
Somebody actually found him on LinkedIn, so I'm going to have a look. Apparently, he's got an elusive character, but somebody's found him on LinkedIn. So, I mean, when Nick Mordin's book came out, the little known fact, W.H. Smith ran out of A to Z cards, didn't they?
That's right. You had the file cards, yeah.
That might be a fib actually, but I went and bought one.
That's the route I took, because I remember I used to, I can't remember how old I was, early 20s, whatever. I used to sort of probably spend about 20 quid every Saturday betting, and then one Saturday, rather than have a bet, I bought Nick Mordin's book Betting for a Living, and I think it would cost 20 quid, and
I got it as well.
Yeah, I remember reading it from cover to cover twice. And then from that, I did go down to W.H. Smith's, buy boxes of file cards, and start what you know what later became my Trend Horses series of books. Writing down every single run for certain horses, usually sort of handicappers over on the over jumps, and just updating them every time they run and having all these sort of A to Z cards. But it's ridiculous now when you think about it with the computers and the power and the power they've got. Everything now is automated. It's all in my Proform database and available at the touch of a button.
Yeah, if I've called this a Nick Mordin special. If you're watching this, Nick, we'd love to talk to you via Zoom and do an
Yeah.
interview with you. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah,
So,
funny enough, I had a conversation only this week with the guys who used to be responsible for his tipping line. So I don't know if you ever listened to that, but it was like £1.50 a minute, and he'd he'd give his bets out to start with. But then what I wanted to listen to was the reasoning behind them. That was what I was interested in, the theory behind it. And he could go on for about 5, 6, 7 minutes or something like that. And you could easily burn a tenner just listening to how he'd come up with these selections on a day. So obviously you'd phone from work because it was free.
horrified, Andrew, horrified.
Yeah. Well, I was working. I remember this was like must have been 1996 or something like that. I was working at Samsung UK in Brentford at the time, and all the phone bills were itemised, so you couldn't get away with phoning any dodgy sex lines or racing tipping lines or whatever people were into those days. But there was one telephone line, which was the Inter Footwear customer hotline that the bill wasn't itemised. So of course I utilised that most mornings to find out what Nick Mordin fancied and why.
You brought down an empire with the phone bill, Andrew.
Absolutely.
But what money well spent for all of us that like to follow your musings and your column, gg.com. Is it
gg.co.uk?
.co.uk.
Yep.
Andrew Mount's column is on there.
Used to be gg.com, then some clever fellow sold that domain name to the Chinese for a fortune.
Yeah, so check out what Andrew's got to say every day. You'll learn a lot. Okay, mate. Well, that's brilliant stuff.
You're off to Toaster, I believe, for the rest of the day.
Greyhounds for the next couple of weeks is what it's all about for me. Star Sports sponsor the Greyhound Derby, so I'm up there watching the money flying around the ring. That should be good fun. If anybody's up there, come and say hello. So thanks, Andrew.
Pleasure.
Like I say, like and subscribe if you like the channel. Tell your mates, and hopefully can whittle the system down to suit you and make a few quid.
Yeah, I promise you we'll go back to the 80s next week.
Yeah, proper job. Whoosh, DeLorean and all.
Nice one.
Okay, mate. Lovely. Thank you, Andrew.
Cheers,
mate. Hello, everyone. Just a quick one. If you have enjoyed these videos and are enjoying these videos, can you please like and subscribe to my channel? Thanks very much.